Tony Martial, he came from France. English press said he had no chance. 50 million down the drain, Tony Martial scores again. Sorry if that was a little cringe. This is the chant that's been heard around Old Trafford for almost a decade now. But how true has it rung within that time period? Tony Martial has been one of, and even at points, the main attacking option for United in the past 9 years. He joined the English side in the 15-16 season from AS Monaco for just about 58 million euros after some promising seasons with the French side. At just 19 years old, he had shown so much potential that he actually broke the record for the highest transfer fee paid for a teenager to that point in time. Martial had been receiving comparisons to Thierry Henry, which is absolutely crazy. In fact, he showed so much potential that there is even a Ballon d'Or clause in his contract, which to date has not been fulfilled. Manchester United has undoubtedly been shocking since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, struggling to find even an ounce of consistency since the departure of the legendary manager. Dozens of players have come and gone from United in this post-Fergie era. However, throughout all these years, since his arrival, Martial has remained at the club to this date. At that, he has even become a huge fan favorite amongst United fans. With that being said, the Frenchman's time at the club is officially over, with United announcing that they will not be extending his contract any further. In my opinion, this is great for United. Although I was a huge fan of Martial when he first came to the club and was hoping to see him succeed, he has unfortunately set Manchester United back tremendously. Even though the club issues do not sit on Martial's shoulders at all, he has been one of the main reasons that United has taken step backs every single season. United's over-reliance on Martial as a forward option has been detrimental to the progress of the club. Well, today I wanted to explore how Martial has failed at Manchester United and the ramifications that had for the club. In the same breath, I do also want to talk about how United in a way failed him as a promising young player joining the club, which actually isn't unique to Martial, as there have been many players that United have failed in these last 10 years. Could things have gone differently for Martial? Could we have seen him raise the Ballon d'Or? Probably not. But nonetheless, let's dive into his time with United. Before we get into the meat of the video, boys, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support on the most recent videos. Again, do not forget to leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below as well your guys' thoughts on what I'm about to say and what you guys think about Martial's time at United. The channel is continuing to grow, boys, so I do appreciate any and all support that you guys are dropping below. You guys absolutely smashed the like goal on the previous video at 20 likes, so I'm gonna drop that one more time for you guys, see if you guys can do it again. 20 likes and I will drop another video essay within the next 2 weeks, just as I promised in the last video. With that being said, boys, let's go ahead and get into this video on why Martial has set back Manchester United. Tony Martial was thrown into the hot seat as soon as he joined the United squad. Coming off a very mediocre campaign in the 14-15 season, United did not have the best start to their 15-16 run. Sitting in 5th place after a 2-1 loss to Swansea, Martial's very first game was going to be against United's biggest rival, Liverpool, all while wearing United's historic number 9. Talk about being thrown to the wolves. Despite the pressure that was mounting on Martial for his debut, he scored a beautiful goal to cap off a 3-1 win for United after coming on in the 65th minute. His pace, trickery on the ball, and energy showed tons of promise for United's new star striker. To follow up this performance, he proceeded to score a brace against Southampton and registered an assist against Sunderland in back-to-back wins for United. At this point, United found themselves at the top of the summit of the Premier League after such an abysmal start. However, from this point on, Martial's output definitely slowed down, and United ended up churning out a very inconsistent rest of the season, resulting in a 5th place finish, a drop into an eventual exit from the Europa League, and the FA Cup trophy. Given this was Martial's first season playing in England, he actually didn't have too bad of a campaign, registering 17 goals and 9 assists in 49 games across all competitions. But there was definitely room to build off of this season, so the verdict was still out on Martial. A lot of things changed at United for the 16-17 season. Biggest changes were the sacking of Louis van Gaal for the legendary Jose Mourinho, and the signing of superstars Paul Pogba and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. With a creative machine behind him in Paul Pogba, a veteran striker to learn the ropes from in Zlatan, and a manager the caliber of Jose Mourinho to receive instructions from, things looked extremely promising for Martial in this United squad. Well, that's at least how it felt. In reality, things took a quick turn for the worse. Essentially, Zlatan came in and instantly took Martial's chain. Martial was stripped of the iconic number 9 and was relegated to a bench player, with Jose Mourinho favoring Zlatan as the starting striker. Makes sense in the grand scheme of things, but it really set back Martial. On top of this, Pogba was used in a much more defensive role, which really limited his impact going forward. In Mourinho's first season, United struggled to achieve anything great in their domestic campaign. They finished 6th place, a position they were in for a staggering 27 game weeks. Add to this an early FA Cup exit and an EFL Cup. It was safe to say this was not Jose Jose Mourinho's best work. On a more positive note, United did manage to win the Europa League. For Martial, he regressed significantly from his season prior. This season, he registered only 8 goals and 9 assists in 42 games across all competitions. Very noticeable decline. It's very important to note, however, that Martial came on as a substitute 14 of those games, which is a third of his total appearances. A clear indicator of how much Jose Mourinho really didn't care for him in his plan. Despite rumors of a United exit, Martial was keen to fight for his spot at this club. He wanted to stay at United. He was willing to fight for his role. We still have many seasons to go over, so I'm going to group Martial's third and fourth campaign into this section, as they have a lot of similarities on an individual level. On a macro level, United actually had a relatively good domestic campaign in the 17-18 season. Despite FA Cup and EFL exits, United were able to maintain a consistent top 4 presence throughout the entire season, which resulted in a second place finish, only behind the Centurion City squad, which to date was their best finish since Sir Alex left. Despite the departure of Ibrahimovic before the season started, United brought in Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez as firepower throughout the season, dragging Martial further down the pecking order and once again setting him back. As a result, things continue to be extremely inconsistent for Martial. During this campaign, he registered 11 goals and 9 assists in 45 games for club. Of those 45 appearances, 19 were off the bench. It was starting to become a very sore spot for United. A player who was far from consistent and eating up 128,000 euros a week at the while. In the following 18-19 seasons, it all fell apart for United. Mourinho's third season syndrome was in full effect, and United crumbled from their second place finish the year prior to a 6th place finish. Add to that the sacking of Jose Mourinho halfway through the season, and it was clear there was a storm brewing in Manchester. Mourinho's sacking did see the introduction of United legend Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as the interim manager into Martial's lore, but we'll get into that in just a second. For Martial, this season was once again a slow one. 12 goals and 3 assists in only 38 appearances was nothing to be impressed about. With 12 appearances off the bench, this was the 3rd season in a row where at least a third of his appearances were off the bench. Even just ignoring stats, it was very clear that Martial was not the player that he once was. His performances were nowhere near up to par where he needed to be. His pace, his energy, those two things were absolutely starting to dwindle away from him. Some of Martial's major criticisms were how lethargic his performances felt, especially when United needed him the most. In my opinion, this is where United's reliance on Martial became a problem. In the grand context, United was sitting on the striker who had failed to produce successful campaigns for United 3 seasons in a row. It could have been the perfect opportunity to thank Martial for the work he had done and move on to different pastures. But what happened? A brand new 5-year contract with a pay increase halfway through the 18-19 season. Why? Because the fans thought he was cold. At least that's the only reason that I can think. If United had let Martial go this season, they would have had an amazing opening for a new, fresh option to come in. In the summer for the upcoming season, some of the strikers that were available that United could have tried to nab up were Haaland, Griezmann, heck, even Luka Jovic at the time could have been exactly what United needed. Some fresh energy and hunger into a side that was about to start fresh with their new manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Considering Lukaku was also sold in the 18-19 season, United were now going into the 19-20 season with Martial as their main striker and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as the new head coach for United. Let's see how this goes. As a whole, things actually did turn around for United this season. Despite a poor start to the season, United managed to turn things around thanks to a couple of factors. First, it was the introduction of Bruno Fernandes in the January window. Adding Bruno as an attacking outlet for Ole's squad alongside Pogba in the midfield provided to be a catalyst for a top 4 finish. Secondly, Martial finally saw an upturn in his performances. Statistically, this was his best campaign in a while, registering 23 goals and 12 assists across 48 games for United, all while being the starting striker for the side for the most part. Martial's style of play mixed with Ole ball proved to be a recipe for success, and it was easy to see that Martial was genuinely improving from the seasons prior. One major asterisk to this season was the fact that this season saw a major break in play due to a worldwide event that affected absolutely everything. With the Premier League pausing from March to June, the players received a very lengthy break from what is usually a jam-packed schedule. When the Premier League resumed play, all games were played behind closed doors with no fans in attendance. Believe it or not, this definitely affected players, as there were many individuals who had broken out in the second half of the season who would not be able to replicate this form. Given that Martial was coming off 3 very inconsistent seasons, many people wanted to see him replicate the form that he found this season during the next campaign. Was this going to be the turning point for the now 24-year-old? Although volleyball flourished this season as United managed a second place finish and Ole's second full season in charge. Martial unfortunately reverted back to his old ways. Injuries ravished this season for Martial as he missed 16 games for United this season, preventing him from ever finding a consistent rhythm in his play. This was a huge disappointment as it truly seemed like Martial had turned a new leaf. Now 6 seasons into his time with United, Martial had more disappointing seasons for the Red Devils and he managed successful ones. Had United shipped him off in seasons prior instead of having him sign a new contract, this could have been a season where a new striker could have stamped his name on this United squad and taken them to the next level. Instead, United decided to carry on with Martial. With Martial still being a part of the squad, United directed their attention to strikers over the age of 30 who were in the latter stages of their career to provide cover for Martial. As he remained in the squad, there were still looming question marks around the firepower that United was working with moving forward. How was United meant to build on their second place finish when their highest earning striker can't consistently register more than 12 goals a season? This was a season of incredible highs and lows, not only for Martial but for United fans as a whole. Manchester United saw the return of their legend Cristiano Ronaldo. It had become clear that United was running out of patience with Martial, and Ronaldo was brought in to lead the line for the upcoming season, and he did just that. Ronaldo helped United fight through some difficult match weeks. Despite his older age, at this point, Ronaldo was still able to contribute to the attack. This did prove to be an extremely turbulent season for United, as Ole was sacked, Rangnick took over, and United whimpered to a 6th place finish. Not only was this a low point for United, but our main man, Tony Martial, had by far his worst spell for the club. He registered only a single goal in 11 appearances and was shipped out on loan to Sevilla by the then manager Ralph Rangnick. By this point in time, it had become extremely clear that Martial was nowhere near the player with the potential that United had signed. While he still possessed some technical ability, his trickiness, pace, and finishing ability had clearly regressed. United should have sold him after the 18-19 season, but they didn't. After 2 more extremely underwhelming seasons, this again would have been a good time to get rid of Anthony Martial. With players in the striker market such as Alexander Isak, Darwin Núñez, Cody Gakpo, and even Erling Haaland, again, Manchester United set themselves back by still having Martial around to occupy the forward position. I'm going to be grouping the 22-23 season and the current one together as they've been more of the same for Martial. It was safe to say United did not learn their lesson when it came to Martial. Despite a horrific tenure at the club to date, they opted to hold on to him and pass up on other potential signings for the forward role. With the arrival of Ten Hag as United's manager, things quickly changed at United. As has been an extremely common theme so far, the season started off extremely turbulent. They dropped points to Brighton and Brentford in extremely embarrassing fashion. Although things picked up to an extent, United made constant headlines, with the major one being that Ten Hag fell out with Ronaldo, which prompted his exit from the club. Ronaldo, not Ten Hag. Ronaldo, once again, leaving Martial as the forward for United. So now with Ronaldo out of the club, how did Martial do with the keys to the attack? Well, he ended up missing 24 games for United through injury. When he did play, Martial did not impress that much, registering only 9 goals and 3 assists in 29 games, coming off the bench for 13 of those. Despite United finishing 3rd place and winning the FA Cup, it once again had become very clear that Martial was not a reliable option for United. In the summer transfer window prior to the 23-24 season, which is the current one, United finally signed a new young promising talent in Rasmus Højlund, making a very clear statement that that role as United's number 9 was nowhere near safe for Martial. However, with that being said, despite a handful of promising performances for Højlund, it is still understood that he is a developing talent, meaning there is still an expectation for Martial to form when he is given the keys to the attack. This season so far, Martial has made 19 appearances and has registered 2 goals and 2 assists, with 12 appearances being off the bench. But if you just simply watch Martial play, you just know his time is done. He has regressed a significant amount when it comes to his finishing, trickery on the ball, his movement. He is not what United need, and with Højlund still being a developing player, Martial is once again holding United back from any progress that we made in the last season. With United currently sitting 6th in the league, coming last in the UCL group, and having an early exit from the EFL Cup, they have officially announced that Martial's contract will not be renewed for the following season, putting an end to his reign of terror. As I mentioned earlier, United's issues are nowhere near being only Martial's fault. The reality is that United have suffered largely from structural and personal issues inside the club. There have never been any systems put into play for any of the managers to succeed and make the team truly theirs. Poor scouting, greedy ownership have made it a struggle for anyone to really do well in that manager role. Additionally, some of the managers have just not been up to the task. Mourinho, Van Gaal, they did good with what they had. Ole was very unexperienced and he kind of did good with what he had as well. But even towards the end of his tenure, you can tell at times the role was a little bit too big for him. Moyes' time was a dumpster fire, and there's currently question marks around Ten Hag as well. Because even though there are structural issues, there has been an inability to play disciplined, consistent football throughout the years, and same can be said about Ten Hag's time. It has become a very vicious cycle where the players who remain at the club throughout the years fail the managers. In turn, the managers are now able to put their philosophy onto the pitch because they can't get the players to buy into their system. The managers that want to buy the players that fit the system, and the owners then do not get those players, and managers are stuck using players from previous tenures, all culminating in poor consistency. I could make a whole nother video about this weird vicious cycle that I'm talking about here. If you guys want me to, you guys can let me know in the comments down below. However, one constant that has been very clear since the 15-16 season is Martial's inability to push United to the next level. He has failed at the club, all while earning hundreds of thousands on a weekly basis. It's still really important to hold him accountable for his role in United's weird past couple of years. As I mentioned, I was a fan of Martial and I really wanted him to work out, but unfortunately it just never happened. Harsh reality is that Martial, along with many others in the squad, should have left the club a long time ago. If you got into this point of the video, boys, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below what you have thought of Martial's time at United so far. At what point would you have sold Martial if you were the owner or manager of Manchester United? Who do you guys think United should try and go after if Martial does leave the club? What's gonna fix United? I don't know. You guys can let me know in the comments below as well. With that being said, thank you boys for watching. Again, 20 likes and we will drop another video essay within the next 2 weeks. Thank you boys for watching. Make sure you guys check out the other videos. Hope you enjoyed this one. Peace.